Glad to have you here today. I first want to ask if there's any new visitors here for the first time. If there is, raise your hand. Or you don't necessarily need to raise your hand. If you do, you can meet Julie afterward. Julie, raise your hand over there, and you can connect with her and find out a little bit more about Unity. And I'd also like to welcome all the online participants. Zoom. I hope the audio is working well, and I appreciate Andres with his help. So I'll be the speaker today. And we'll have Robert come up and do the reading. So thank you, Robert. I asked him to do a children's story for our reading today. And then in the band we have Elle, Gerald, and Al. So thank you. Yes. On the back wall, we want to thank Annette. Annette, are you out here today? Or I don't know. I don't see Annette, but she has a vision board on the back with lots of poems, and she'll be doing I'll be going through a few other announcements here in just a second, but she's got to have a workshop for that. And yeah, let me go through those now. Prayer chaplain class has been postponed due to a notice from Larimer County stating that cases of COVID have risen sharply for the Omicron variant. So hang in there on the prayer chaplain class that will be coming. I don't know if there's any new date on that or not, but Vision Board Workshop. So this is what I mentioned that Annette is leading, and that was moved to Sunday, January 16th. I think it was mentioned last week, and there not too many people knew about it, so that will be next Sunday the 16th. Council meeting also on Sunday the 16th at 11:30, so half an hour after this service. The first hour will be opening meeting, and the second will be for council business only. And then, let's see, what else do we have? There will be I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, a Pranic Healing Level 1 class on January 22nd, 23rd, hosted by, Camina Silvestro. Camina, is she not here today? Okay, maybe she's online, so, that should be great. And then we have our annual meeting, and that's held on Sunday, February 20th. So if you could put that in your calendar, we do need to have a quorum to be able to make some decisions as a council. So that's all I have on the list here. Is there any other announcements that somebody would like to make? Yes, Leanne.
A lot of you heard last week that our friend Ro Heller, who's been a longtime Unity member, passed away on New Year's morning. And in the lobby today, there's a big bouquet of yellow roses. She loved flowers, especially roses. And if you'd like to take one of those in memory of her, please do. There's also some copies of her obituary there that her daughter gave me. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Okay, so why don't we do a little silent meditation and centering, just to kind of get the outside noise, everything that's been going on this morning, clamoring to get here, dealing with the snow. So if you can just get comfortable in your seat, put your feet on the ground, close your eyes if you'd like to, and breathe slowly in and out for a minute or two. Get that to-do list out of your head if you can, and try to calm down the mind and see if you can be centered and be here. Okay, why don't we go ahead and open our eyes, and we're going to say the Unity opening. Let's see if it's on that sheet, if you don't know it. Yes, it's at the top of the sheet if you don't know it, so let's say that together. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world. Very good. Now I think next we have a community song, and I'll hand that over to you, Al.
Yes, this is one of Al's songs. Al Hager.
Gotta stay cool like the morning breeze. Relax, set your mind at ease. Rejoice at a fleeting smile that keeps you grinning for a while. You are still alive. Feel that boundless joy inside. Wind on your face, the passions you chase. Clear your mind of all regret. Remember all the times we spent. Good friends are heaven sent. Those moments, rare as jewels, are thanks to those up above who fill up our hearts with love and light the way to the stars. 'Cause every day is another chance to live the life we dream of. Circle round and take a hand, and let's raise up, let's raise up a toast to all our friends. It's a hand on your shoulder, a smile you share, knowing how much some is really theirs. It's laughing together or sharing a dream. All those moments with friends in your life. Clear your mind of all regret. Remember all the times we spent. Good friends are heaven sent. Those moments, rare as jewels, are thanks to those up above who fill up our hearts with love and light the way to the stars. 'Cause every day is another chance to live the life we dream of. Circle round and take a hand, and let's raise up a toast to all our friends. A toast to all our friends.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have a reading by Robert. No chair, okay.
Stage right. I got your back, Robert.
All right. Hello, all. I'm Robert Hudgens, and we have a reading. I'll go back and read this to the kids afterwards, but I was asked to find a reading on kindness. And so I have Frog and Toad are friends. And
Love that book.
so any parents from 25 or so years ago might know this. Well, in fact, we have 4 of their books, and they're delightful stories.
Yeah.
So this one is called The Story. I won't have to show you the pictures, but they're fun too. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. Toad said, "Frog, you're looking quite green." "But I always look green," said Frog. "I'm a frog." "Today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into my bed and rest." Toad made a cup of hot tea, and Frog drank the tea, and then he said, "Tell me a story while I'm resting." "All right," said Toad. "Let me think of a story to tell you." Toad thought and thought, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. "I will go out on the front porch and walk up and down," said Toad. "Perhaps that will help me to think of a story." Toad walked up and down on the porch for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad poured a glass of water over his head. "Why are you pouring water over your head?" said Frog. "I hope that if I pour water over my head, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. Toad poured many glasses of water over his head, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. "Why are you banging your head against the wall?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I bang my head against the wall hard enough, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. "I'm feeling much better now, Toad," said Frog. "I do not think I need a story anymore." "Then you get out of bed and let me get into it," said Toad, "because now I feel terrible." Frog said, "Would you like me to tell you a story, Toad?" "Yes," said Toad, "if you know one." "Once upon a time," said Frog, "there were 2 good friends, a frog and a toad. The toad was not feeling well. He asked his friend the toad to tell him a story. The toad could not think of a story. He walked up and down on the porch, but he could not think of a story. He stood on his head. I must have missed a page in there. But he could not think of a story. He poured water over his head, but he could not think of a story. He banged his head against the wall, but he could not think of a story. Then the toad did not feel so well, and the frog was feeling better. So the toad went to bed, and the frog got up and told him a story. The end. "How is that, Toad?" said Frog. But Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. Thank you.
There's a light that glows by the front door. Don't forget the keys under the mat. When childhood stars shine, always stay humble and kind. Go to church, 'cause Spirit says to. Visit Grandma every chance that you can. It won't be wasted time. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, and don't lie. Oh, you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from anyone. Don't hold a grudge or a chip, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind. Know the difference between sleeping with someone and sleeping with someone you love. I love you is no pickup line. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, and don't lie. I know you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. When it's hot, drink an ice-cold lemonade. Shut off the AC and roll the windows down. Let the summer sun shine. Always stay humble and kind. Don't take for granted the love that life gives you. When you get there, don't forget to turn around. Help the next one in line. Always stay humble and kind. Yeah, help the next one in line. Always stay humble and kind.
So today my talk's called Choose Kind, and I've really been feeling a lot of energy in Unity last few, 6 weeks or so. We had Franklin come in and talk about his relationship and relationship and how that formed for him with his wife Monica, and how that could be brought toward unity. We had Peggy come and talk and share what COVID in the last year and a half had meant to her and what she went through. It was really great to have that, the memories of some of the things in the past, and feel the energy that we have felt before. And I'm also really excited with a couple of the presentations that Jim and Sharon had delivered. Jim's last one was Weird Church. It sticks in my mind, and he was going through some of the characteristics of weird churches, and it really felt like that was unity to me. So if you haven't heard that, I'd recommend it. And then last week, Sharon, hers was Choose Joy, real similar to what I'm doing with Choose Kind. There was a great story in there about building bridges instead of walls. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that too. So I'm really starting to feel a lot of great energy here at Unity, and looking forward to our new transformation. And that's kind of the background for my thinking about my talk today and what I want to share with you as we move into this transformation. We're that caterpillar that's in the chrysalis or in the cocoon, and it's going through this change. What is it going to be? What are we going to look like as we transform into the butterfly? So that's where I am. And I also, typically, I've done a few other talks. I have a disclaimer. So the views from me don't necessarily represent the views of Unity here. Take what you like, leave the rest. You're working on your own connection to the divine, and this is just my point of view, so please take it in that regard. So I grew up in a military family. My dad was a helicopter pilot. We were in the Air Force. We moved around a lot. I was the first of 4, and it was a black and white world that I grew up in, especially the young years. My hair was no longer than a half an inch long until I was probably 9 or 10 years old. We got a haircut. There was 3 of us boys. We got a haircut every 2 weeks, whether we needed it or not. My mom could get us done in 7 minutes, all 3 of us. Zoom, 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 zoom. It was just a machine. We went in there. I had really strict guidelines of how I lived and what I did. I got my homework done before I played. I had piano lessons. Both of my parents were music majors, so we went through our piano lessons, and lots of guidelines. Grew up in a Methodist church, and so that was my world. It felt comfortable. I lived in that. It wasn't until late elementary, we were living in Maryland, near DC at the time, and for me, for me, the time frame, that's about 1968. So we would drive through DC at times, and you could see the burned out buildings. I listened to the news. I heard about riots. In '68, there were 2 assassinations, Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King. Lots of discussion and music about peace, love, and my dad was in the military. And a couple of years later, he went to fight in Vietnam. So this is when, for me, this black and white, comfortable existence started turning gray. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about now and go through how I've become gray, or things have become, I'm definitely getting gray. And but my outlook on the world is becoming gray. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about, this may be a good title for this talk, was Shades of Gray, but Kimber suggested that probably wasn't a good idea. It might not set a good expectation. So, one of the first things, we had moved quite a few times when my dad was overseas. We'd moved to California. That's where they were from. My parents had met, and I was in Boy Scouts and really loved the outdoors there. And when he came back from overseas, we moved to Utah, and there to be in Scouts, it was a Mormon scout troop. There really wasn't any opportunity. So I was in a Mormon scout troop. I was there when I was in 7th and 8th grade. And make a long story short, I went in as, I think maybe I had my 2nd class or something, just had barely started, but in 2 years I popped out an Eagle Scout. I was 14 years old. The feeling about turning gray about that for me was that I know a lot of people work really hard until they're 18 to get this Eagle Scout award. But it was a machine. I can remember I got the plumbing badge, merit badge. My parents knew nothing about plumbing, but I just showed up. I went in this one side in the line and went through and did all the activities they need to. I read a few paragraphs. I took a little quiz and test. Boom, I got the plumbing merit badge. And it just got cranked through. I was in their machine. And what I left with that feeling was that, all these awards, I don't deserve that. And so I started to think a little bit differently about people getting awards and what that meant, because I knew I didn't deserve an Eagle Scout. I just kind of got churned through. I was 14, still pimple-faced and whatever. And so anyway, that was one thing. I've got a few other vignettes that I wanted to share, and we're actually going to allow the online people to see things that you won't be able to see. I have a few pictures. I went to college, and then I was lucky enough to do semester at sea. Yay, I see Ann and Robert raising their hands. So they were lucky enough also to go on semester at sea. And the first place I stepped foot out of the United States was Japan. You know, when we grew up, meat should be cooked. That's right. It's wrong to not eat uncooked meat. Well, I got to try sushi. I fell in love with sushi. I love the subtlety and the flavors of the different fish, and I know not everybody does, but that was another graying of the world to me. There's a picture that the online audience is going to see that you won't, and this has to do with another Japanese idiom, Wabi-Sabi. Basically, what this means is it's sometimes described as one of the appreciating beauty that is imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete in nature. And one of the examples that they have in their art is called kintsugi. And so what they're going to see online is a beautiful vase. And kintsugi actually means golden joinery. It's a broken vase, and they mend it back together, but they use gold to show the imperfections of where things are put back together. It's beautiful. The online people on probably are clapping right now because that is just gorgeous. So my feeling about black and white and new is better, perfect is better, you know, I got to think about that. And as I'm going through this, one of the things we have in Unity here and we talk about is I don't come here to get my questions answered. I come here to get my answers questioned. And that's what was happening to me as I was going through. This existence is what I thought was right and wrong. That was getting questioned with, this doesn't seem right. My mother was very, very traditional, and she believed that men were more capable in leadership positions than women. She didn't respect and still doesn't really have good feelings about women ministers, political figures. She really was compartmentalized. And I'm an engineer, technical engineer. Oh, do I need water? I've got water here, hon. Thank you very much. I guess I need to drink some water. So my mother bought that way. So I'm an engineer. I've been in an engineering corporation for 40 years. There's 4 managers that I've worked for that I've really appreciated that just rise above the others. 3 of them are women, and they were the only women that I worked for. So my experience is completely the opposite of what my mother feels as far as that. Believe it or not, engineers are people too, and and the women knew how to interact with that emotional part of us black and white kind of engineers. I think some of you know that I've just loved being involved in our effort in our work here at Unity with La Medición in Guatemala. I've been there a number of times, and they've taught me quite a bit too. You know, being a technologist and technology, you think about how that's going to improve your lives and the things that you're going to do. So what the people online are going to see is a couple of examples of me getting my head turned sideways when I was down there. We did quite a bit of work on irrigation and water with Engineers Without Borders was down there too. And there was one cauldron where they were trying to tap into a spring, and there was huge boulders this size, you know, multi-ton boulders that were in the way, and they were up there, and we're trying to just sort of look at the situation, and I'm going, oh, how the heck are they going to do this? They're now be able to get a backhoe in here. In an hour, those boulders were gone. They had the machete, it was about all they had. They could take bamboo. Bamboo's really strong, and the lever, the single simple lever, getting those boulders out of there, and 8 or 9 guys working together, took an hour. It wasn't my experience of what was possible. Engineers Without Borders put in about 3 football field long irrigation. They have it's a reservoir where the water will go and get distributed. And Cindy and I, on our last trip, we were looking there, and we saw these 800 or 900 feet of trenches that were dug, and all the pipe was already laid in it. We said, wow, they must have been working on this for a while. They can't get any backhoes up here, and all the trenches were really beautifully dug. Nope, got done in 5 days. 5 days. And there's some wonderful pictures that online is seeing about that too. So, yeah, there's quite a few of these examples of what is black, what is white, what is wrong, what is right. A couple other ones I need to go a little quicker here, so I'll skip a little bit of this, but I got a master's degree about 10 years ago, and I had to read a lot of recitations on peer review research, and this was in biological sciences. And in those situations, you read these studies, and you're supposed to be very critical of, are they using the scientific method correctly? And so I got a perspective on science, a different perspective on science being hard and black and white. There's something called the Replication Crisis that's going on in the science world, and that's being able to reproduce studies. And the amount of, or the lack of reproduction is surprising. There was actually, and I've got 3 or 4 references here, but I'll be glad to share more of this with you after if you like, but I'll just leave it. There was an article in the paper, and it was talking about cancer studies, and they said that they struggled with reproducing 54% of those. So 54% could not be reproduced. And there's no motivation to reproduce. If you're trying to publish, you want to have something novel. It has to be novel. That means new and something. And so this whole idea of reproducing scientific study. So I walked away with a significant different feeling about science being fact and law, and anytime I hear anything about a study, that's true. I don't feel that way anymore. One last video that would have liked to share it with you, but is something that Denver 7 had done, a local station, and they have a thing called 360, where they want to give everybody different points of view. And this is just a really good 15-second segment, and there's this woman walking down the street. It looked like it was downtown Denver. There's a guy kind of resting up beside this building, and he's got a hoodie. She's walking by, and he's just giving her the eye as he walks by, and she's kind of preoccupied talking on her phone, and she's got her pocketbook over her corner. And then as she gets sort of beyond him, he reaches out and dives for that purse and grabs the purse and is pulling. And then the scene freezes. I don't know if some of you have seen this or not, but that scene freezes, and it moves the point of view about 120 degrees, and there's a bus coming down. She's about to step out into the road, and he's saving her from the bus. So this point of view is a big deal, as we look at what is right, what is wrong. So on your bulletin, there's a wonderful quote that I've had in my cube at work for probably 5 or 10 years from Wayne Dyer. It talks about, if you're given the choice between being right or being kind, choose kind. For me, I'm simplifying that. When you come from a point of view of being right, there's an ego that's kind of involved in that. And sometimes ego makes us react and behave. I'll speak for myself. It definitely impacts me. And if I am in a situation of fear, we've talked a lot about fear being the opposite of love here, or if I'm tired or if I'm stressed or I'm angry, I react. And that isn't necessarily out of a loving place. And I get sideways with where my true intention is. So, kind of summarizing where I am with my gray world is I choose the simple form of this quote, choose kind. I've moved a lot more toward what's wrong and right and black and white to there's a lot of gray out there, and if I change my point of view and I come from a different angle, or I ask to understand more what's going on with that person. We have unity principle number 2. The Spirit of God lives in each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. All people are inherently good. We've talked a lot about us and how we have to feel good, that we're inherently good, and a lot of us are working through issues. But it's that other person is inherently good. So if I can come from a point of view that they are inherently good, and that if there is some discrepancy or difference of opinion, it may be not that there's a right or wrong. It's more about maybe I don't have that perspective, or I don't understand where that person's coming from. And so I try to take that approach and that's what I'm going to be doing as we move toward our new chapter and take our next steps here at Unity. What can I do to choose kind? What's choosing kind mean to me as I'm going to interact with the group here? We've got some things to work through here at Unity, you know. How do we balance? What's the right balance between our connection with Unity Worldwide Ministries and maintaining our unique character here at this Unity Fort Collins that draws us here, that has drawn me here for 25 years? We don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that. But I believe that we can find that right balance so both is taken care of. I personally also am trying to figure out how can the next generation, the young participants here, be more involved. They're very busy. You know, Kimber and I were very busy with our lives, with our children at those stages, and it's hard for them to spend as much time. But I want to figure out how can I do that. So as I choose kind, the things that I think about are principle number 2. If I feel there's tension or disagreement or whatever, I don't think it's a right or wrong thing. I'm going to take my first step saying, you know what? It's just come out sideways. You know, maybe it's a fear-based reaction on their part, on my part. You know, I've done plenty of crazy things that don't align with where my really intention is. And I'm going to be really realizing that others are that way too. They are not always aligned. We're not always aligned with our divine place. So I want to take that point of view as I'm talking. I want to ask questions for understanding, to understand the different points of views as we have our conversations. And I want to listen. I want to actively listen. In my mind, I did quite a bit of diversity work in the mid to late 90s at HP, Hewlett-Packard, for probably 7 years. And we had a really, really nice approach to allowing people to speak without others talking. It's called a fishbowl, and you just have two concentric circles. Chairs on the outside would be maybe one point of view, or not the experience of whoever is in the middle. We had to create a safe place, but the group in the middle could speak freely. And they were seated with questions, whatever the topic was. In our case, it was diversity, and so it could be people of color, it could be women that were in the middle. The people on the outside couldn't say a thing. It was only using your ears and listening. And so often when we're engaging with people, our mind's thinking about, well, how do we counter that? And what do we say, as opposed to really listening? So what I try to do is remember that fishbowl example when I am talking to people. And I don't always do it, but I try to really understand where they're coming from and their point of view, and choose kind. So I'm going to leave you with a poem that's just really simple, short poem that's so sweet, by Allison Malie, I think is how you pronounce her last name. Ah, kindness. What a simple way to tell another struggling soul that there is love to be found in the world. So why don't we go into our thoughts or prayers? Al?
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what we're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is everywhere. And our thoughts indeed a prayer. May the blessings of God rest upon me. May God's peace abide in me. May God's presence illuminate our hearts now and forevermore. May the blessing of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon us. May God's peace abide in us. May God's presence illuminate our heart now and forevermore. Now and forevermore.
Okay, prosperity blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. So thank you, God. So we have a couple baskets here that you can leave donations and you like to, or online can send those in, so thank you. And we have one more piece of music, Try a Little Kindness from Glenn Campbell. So we'll have Alan L. and Gerald come on back up.
If you see your brother standing by the road with a heavy load from the seeds he has sowed, and if you see your sister falling by the way, just stop and say, hey, you're going the wrong way. You got to try a little kindness. Yeah, show a little kindness. Shine your light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on the narrow-minded streets. Don't just walk around the down and out. Lend a helping hand instead of doubt. And the kindness that you show every day will help someone along their way. You got to try a little kindness. Yeah, show a little kindness. Shine your light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on the narrow-minded streets. You got to try a little kindness. Yes, show a little kindness. Just shine your light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on the narrow-minded streets.
So today is Birthday Sunday, and we have Joellen going to come up and lead us in our birthday celebration.
So it's the second Sunday of the month, and that's the time we celebrate the birthdays for the month. There's a camera there. So yes, but this is January. We have January birthdays, and Martha. Yeah. Come on up, you birthday people. We
All
wanna
right.
sing. And so we're gonna sing Happy Birthday, and in the place of the words, we put beloveds.
Oh.
I mean of the names.
Oh, yeah.
Beloveds. Okay. Okay. Madame? No?
No.
Okay.
Gotta work
All
up
right.
happy
Happy
birthday to you.
Happy
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, beloveds. Happy birthday to you.
They're gonna say their names and the number of the month.
The date.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's see, there we go. Okay, we've got a prayer of protection and then, and then the peace song. So let's go ahead and circle up. And if you're in a pod, you can hold hands. If not, okay.
Surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our creator, family all are we. As we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, this is my joyous vow. To take each moment and live